Welcome to another episode of Unleashing the Future of Work. This is Tim Salau broadcasting live across all popular channels. And I am joined today by my great friend and awesome, awesome brother, Michael Mudukuti, who is the CEO of GoXR. So, Michael is the co founder and CEO at GoXR, a creative agency using augmented reality to revolutionize the online shopping experience. Prior to GoXR, Michael was a full stack software engineer working on Home Depot's e-commerce platform. Michael graduated from Texas Tech University in spring 2017 with a bachelor's degree in management and information systems. And today we are going to be talking about all things related to building a business, entrepreneurship, and extended reality. Without further ado, let me bring on Michael to the show. Hey, Michael, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Tim, glad to be on.
Dude, so thankful to have you on. So we're actually not streaming live on all popular channels. Sadly, we aren't streaming live on LinkedIn for some reason because LinkedIn says I do not have permission to use LinkedIn Live, even though I stream live every day, which is really weird. Yeah, it's really weird. But that's fine. We're gonna roll with the punches, and let's see. Well, actually, let's see if we can edit it really quick, and then we'll get live. We'll get started, bro. That's weird. Note that LinkedIn grants access to pages and profiles, so that's why your pre has access, but not. Oh, that's my. Oh, that's why. Yes. Oh, oops. Oh, I fixed it.
Okay.
I fixed it. Yeah, I fixed it, man. Okay, we're live on LinkedIn now. Okay, we are on all channels live. Okay, so thank y'all so much for working with me on that hiccup. So we're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Periscope, the channels that really matter. Michael, man, I would love for you to share a little bit about who you are, introduce yourself, man. You know, you and I go back a while. You know what I'm saying? You're my line brother, which is crazy. A lot of people don't know that we crossed together. But I would love for you to share a little bit about your background, man. How you got started building GoXR, man.
Yeah, perfect. So I was born in Zimbabwe. My family moved to the United States when I was 5 years old. Went to Texas Tech University and majored in management information systems. After I graduated from Texas Tech University, I moved to Austin, Texas, and started working as a software engineer on Home Depot's e-commerce platform. So while I was out there, I was really curious about how I could leverage the skills that I was getting to help a lot of local businesses. So I started freelancing and doing software development, web development, and digital marketing as well. So the first company that I was working with was South of Everywhere. They were actually friends of mine, which worked out to be great. I started doing their web development and digital marketing. And through working with them, I met a mutual friend. His name is Wallen. He's a CEO of 3Data. So we were there late at night one of those days, and one of their friends came and was like, oh, you're in technology. That's pretty cool. And he said, I know a friend that's doing augmented reality and data visualization. And at that moment, my mind was like, I was like, wow, augmented reality and data visualization. I have to meet this guy. So I went to go meet Wallen. We talked about augmented reality and virtual reality. I had a general understanding of what the technology was, but I thought that it was going to be something that was far in the future. I didn't think that there was, much being done currently. So he showed me a virtual reality demo, and it was pretty impressive. I've used virtual reality before. So, I wasn't just completely blown away by the experience. I was more blown away by the fact that, I know somebody that's actually able to create these kind of experiences, So when we went to the next headset, it was a Magic Leap headset, a mixed reality headset. And when I put on that headset, my mind literally exploded, I was able to see all these digital objects running around the room. What I did really wasn't that complex, but, I was just impressed by, the experience that the Magic Leap headset was able to provide right now,
Yeah.
So ever since that day, my mind was just racing on how can AR bring value? What is the future going to look like when this technology is more accessible? And we were just really passionate about augmented reality and about building. So we decided to take that into our own hands. We didn't want to just wait and see what everyone else was going to create. We wanted to create things as well. We wanted to be the ones that were, putting out content. So that's pretty much how we formed GoXR.
So, for you, I think it's interesting because you're working in a field that's emerging, right? That
Mhm.
is budding. And by the way, if you all are joining us, let us know where you're tuning in from. Show some love in the comments. I am loving my Wi-Fi and my high-speed internet. It's I just upgraded it so I could actually start doing more stable live streams. So I am loving this. The connection is pretty beautiful from where I'm looking. But Mike, I would love for you to talk a little bit about, you're working in an emerging industry, and more importantly, you're kind of like pushing new boundaries, right, on where
Mhm.
XR, VR, and AR is going. You're looking at all of these parallel things. I think, what kind of what allowed you kind of like, what gave you the confidence that, like, why can't we just start something and start experimenting in this space?
I think meeting my mentor was probably the biggest thing
Yeah,
right there because I saw that he was already doing it, and I was like, wow,
yeah,
I think that's really far down the road. And I was able to talk with him, and I started making a long list of all the different possibilities, and I realized that with the skills that I already had, I was already one step closer to creating these different 3D experiences. So
yeah.
yeah,
You're like, I already got the skills.
yeah, yeah.
I actually already have knowledge here.
It's just a small pivot, going into
Yeah.
3D realm. It's a lot more in depth. You're adding a whole new dimension.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I guess so. Talk to me a little bit more about, in your opinion, what excites you about AR in the future of work, man?
Yeah, so as far as AR and the future of work, I'm really excited about AR just because it changes the way we interact with technology. Right now, all
Yeah.
technology we mostly interact with is 2D, whether that's a cell
Mm,
phone, iPad, laptop, TV, it's all 2D. When you start talking about 3D experiences, it really allows you to be a lot more creative. We're 3D
mm,
beings. So when you interact with this digital content that's 3D, it just feels a lot more natural. And I'm really
yeah,
to see what people are going to continue to create in the future, just because when you have that whole new dimension, you can do so much more. So the experiences we're going to see in the future are going to be wild. They're really going to blow our minds.
yeah,
As far as the future of work goes, the future of work is definitely going to be revolutionized. There's two areas specifically that I want to talk about.
yeah.
First one
Talk
is
to us,
training.
man.
Yeah. First one is training, and the next one is remote collaboration. So as far as
Mm,
on the training side of things, virtual reality is great when it comes to trying to simulate a dangerous environment without putting somebody in harm's way.
yeah,
So, say you were trying to train to become a firefighter, or you were training to be a window washer on the Burj Khalifa, for example. You would be able to be inside that dangerous environment without actually being in harm's way. You'd be able to put somebody in there and see how they react to certain situations. And the great thing about it is it's not just the experience where you go in there and you're done. You actually get valuable data about what that person was doing in the experience. What were the first things
mm,
that they looked at? What were the things they weren't looking at? Were they following all the steps that they're supposed to? So that's how it is on the virtual reality side. On the augmented reality side, augmented reality really shines when you look at it from a perspective as how can you complete a very complex task, right?
mm,
Augmented reality is able to overlay digital content onto your current world. So you're able to put like an arrow at a certain place, like, okay, grab this wrench and then take the wrench and twist it, counterclockwise, right? All that's going to be
mm,
visual. It's going to be heads up, because right now, if you wanted to complete a complex task, you really have to look at a manual. So you're looking at the manual and then, you're doing the work. You're looking at the manual,
mm.
put it down and do the work. Augmented reality allows you to be heads up and actually complete the task, while having your hands free with a significantly decreased amount of human error. And
Yeah,
the future of work, but this is actually being used now.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
many
yeah, yeah.
right now that are rolling this out, and they've seen 85% decrease in training time. And the
Wow.
really interesting thing that I wanted to bring up and ask you about too is how augmented reality is really going to decrease the skills gap.
Yeah,
That's going
yeah,
to continue to grow. With this technology,
yeah.
you're able to get people up to speed much faster than previous training methods.
Yeah, no, bro. What I love about what you touched, you kind of broke it down really, really well for the audience, man. And I think it's augmented training. I want to call that category augmented training. And
Mm-hmm.
I think from a skills gap perspective, I just think the way learning is moving towards is augmentation, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think there's so many different, whether it be e-learning platforms, virtual reality, augmented reality, all of these things are going to augment how we learn and perceive information, but also how do we retain information too.
Exactly.
And for me, as someone that like loves product and loves the psychology behind learning, I think that's the opportunity, right? So in essence, we're going to be moving towards a more knowledgeable world, hopefully, but also a more accessible world when it comes to technology. What are your thoughts on that, man?
I definitely do agree. I mean,
Yeah.
you retain information more when you experience it. I think you just did a poll on LinkedIn like today, or was it yesterday?
Yeah.
How do people prefer to learn? And they prefer to learn and do training through actually getting hands-on experience. You know?
Yeah. It's hands-on experience, and it's also, it's a feeling of presence, right? Like you could actually connect with that person, and then multiple kind of like modalities. And I think, when you were talking about augmented reality, I think the power of augmented reality and virtual reality is this ability to simulate, right? And actually like put people in the simulation, immerse them, and then engage them in a way that feels as if, oh, I'm actually present in the moment. And I feel as if that's just going to be that's going to be like the next frontier of learning. From what I think from a business stand and a market standpoint, I'm excited about it, man. I'm excited about it. I don't know if the technology is there yet, but it's like the experimental technology is there, but it's not, we just haven't scaled it yet,
Exactly. I think there's a lot of barriers to entry. I would say the technology is actually there now.
Yeah.
Through the HoloLens 2. Microsoft did an amazing job on that.
Dude, do you have that?
HoloLens
have
2,
you gotten that?
I don't have it
Not
yet.
yet.
I don't have it yet. I can't wait to get my hands on it, If anybody doesn't know what the HoloLens 2 is, I really encourage you to go watch a video on YouTube about the HoloLens 2 and what Microsoft is doing, It's a crazy experience that you can get from it. But like I said, companies are using it right now. Lockheed Martin, Airbus, PACCAR, there's a lot of different companies that are rolling out these different training simulations with augmented reality.
Man, that's wild. By the way, if you are enjoying this live episode with my boy Michael Mudukuti, CEO of GoXR, please show us some love in the comments. Let us know where you're tuning in from. I know we got started on LinkedIn pretty late. We eventually connected to that platform and channel. But let us know, what are you thinking about what we're talking about in terms of the future of learning and augmented training, as well as VR and AR? Let us know in the comments and we'll show you some love. So, Michael, I wanna dive deep a little bit further, man. You kind of share a little bit about what motivated you to start GoXR. I want to talk to you about, how do you differentiate between XR, VR, and AR, man? Because I still think a lot of people don't get it. And even for me, as someone that's in tech, sometimes it's like confusing because I don't think a lot of businesses get it. They kind of position their products as XR, AR, and VR, and it's a little bit all over the place. So how do you simplify this for the people, man?
All right, perfect. So I would look at XR as an umbrella term that covers the immersive technologies, VR, AR, and MR. So virtual reality is when you're fully immersed into a digital environment. So you can't see your outside surroundings. All you can see is the digital content. Then AR is when you overlay digital content onto your current environment. So, and then mixed reality is pretty much the same as AR, but the big difference is you're actually able to interact with the digital objects, and there's like a spatial awareness of your surroundings. So if you were to throw a ball, right, like a mixed reality ball, it would actually bounce off of the wall, because there's a spatial understanding of that's a wall right there. This is the floor, it knows that the objects are inside that room.
Man, and that's next level. I think, do you feel as if the technology is there for that yet? I mean, recently you were talking about Magic Leap, and they have now shifted to being an enterprise solution, an enterprise platform, because they realize, building an XR platform, a spatial reality platform for consumers, maybe there's not a need there yet, but there's business opportunities in the enterprise. But from a consumer standpoint, do you feel as if we're there yet in terms of technology, man?
From a consumer standpoint, no, not yet. The closest thing to it would be the InReal mixed reality device, which is a pretty good experience, probably the best one when it comes to consumer. But I used it, and I really wasn't as impressed as the video showed, of course. So I think there's still, a little progress that they have to make in order to actually get the consumer adoption. On the consumer side, I do think that Apple and Facebook are going to be two key players that you want to look at. Apple, we always talk about this. They've been rumored to release these glasses. I think the latest rumor said that they're supposed to make the announcement either 2020 or in 2021.
Early
right?
2021, right?
Yeah,
I've been telling you and I, we've been talking about this for years now. Like it's
yeah.
happening in 2020, and I think this is gonna be the season, man.
Mhm.
Especially with everything going on with this COVID-19 thing, it's still kind of
Exactly.
paramount and present in a lot of different countries. And they recently acquired a company, right?
Yeah, exactly. They did. They did. They did.
Yeah, a VR content company, and who knows how they're gonna thinking about applying them. But I think this is gonna be the year, man.
Yeah, I definitely do as well. Then you have Facebook as well, creating their augmented reality glasses. Facebook has been killing it when it comes to the VR side with Oculus. The Oculus Quest, in my opinion, is like the iPhone to VR. They were able to get
Mm,
device that people actually wanted. And their sales have been going through the roof. Especially since the pandemic started. And I think that they're gonna continue to keep going even after this is over. Once this is behind
yeah.
us. You know.
Dude, so let me ask you because we've talked about this in the past, man. In-home content and like interacting with content.
Mhm.
And I recently was reading today and I listening to that the NBA is actually trying to work with Disney to
Mhm.
where they can actually have a set location where they are orchestrating all of the different games. It's happening at the same time.
Mhm.
And so they can continue the season. But I think a lot of people don't realize there's that the opportunity now for the NBA and a lot of kind of major sports brands is in the content side of things.
Yeah.
Right. So the licensing of the content as well as, the streaming, right?
Mhm.
And now I think what's interesting is now we're seeing a convergence with a lot of VR headsets and AR, rooming to be on the like speculated to be on the rise due to COVID-19. Everyone's in home now. Do you think a lot of in home is going to a lot of content engagement is going to shift in home? Like platforms like TikTok are booming right now. Like, what are your thoughts on that, man? On that intersection between, I guess, augmented reality as well as content.
Yeah, so I do think that a lot of things are going to shift in home. I think that's what they are right now. I
Yeah.
think we're going to continue to see a lot of different experiences. Entertainment is going to be huge, or is huge for VR. Right now, I mean, the majority of people that are in VR are mostly the hardcore gamers. So that's
Yeah.
where content has been focused for like majority of the years. So I think going forward, there's going to be a lot more experiences that are meant for in-home entertainment. One popular experience that people always do in VR is like Richie's Plank experience, where like it simulates you like at the top of a building and really shows how virtual reality tricks your mind into thinking that you're actually there. It's like you're on a plank and then like you can look down and you actually really feel scared because
Yeah.
like your brain thinks that you're way 100 stories up in the air. So I do think that in the future people are going to continue to create these different in-home experiences for sure.
There's gonna be a game changer, man. There's gonna be a game changer because I can imagine being immersed in a Houston Rockets versus Toronto Raptors game
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
a VR headset or in a spatial reality headset, and you're
Mhm.
listening to James Harden on the court
Exactly.
talking trash.
Yeah, there's actually an app similar to that. I saw an experience where you could, watch the game, except you can watch it with your friends. So you put your
Wow.
headset on, and you can either be like, at certain seats in the stadium, or you can be in like a room, kind of like in a press box kind of feel, with all the different stats on the wall, and then you have all your friends that are in the room as well, and you guys are interacting while watching the game. So it makes it not so much of a isolating experience, and it makes it more social. I think there's a lot
Mm,
of growth for social VR. You know, I think that's where you're going to see a lot of growth and a lot more adoption because a lot of people are worried about VR because they say it's so isolating, but it actually
mm,
connects you to a lot of people, in a way. Because when you're in
mm.
VR talking to somebody, you actually feel like that person is there. You know,
Wow.
yeah, they did a couple studies, and if somebody was sitting in the chair, you're not going to go sit in that same exact chair as them because that's just
Yeah,
how we interact.
because you have that sense of presence.
Exactly, exactly, exactly.
Social, you're absolutely right. I agree with you.
Mhm.
Social VR is going to be huge, and I mean, as you mentioned, platforms and companies like Facebook are making all the right bets in
All
that area. I think what's so fascinating because I recently got the Oculus Quest. After you and I have been talking about it, and I haven't been using it often because it's. I mean, I think we're still from a consumer standpoint, we still kind of fiend for mobile and
yeah.
desktop. I've been on my desktop a lot, right? Because I'm doing a lot of business and work on my desktop. But I don't really have a hard pull or motivation to get into my VR headset yet,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And I think what's so interesting about just when I was using Oculus is how Facebook has done a wonderful job in creating kind of that ecosystem and marketplace already in terms of the applications, like you mentioned, but also how like they've already kind of made Oculus social friendly, just like the entire platform. So you can I can add you, I can add other friends, I can see what games you're playing, and then they're going to create another kind of social platform around it, which is Facebook Horizon. You know, like for you, you know, what would be like the ideal social VR app that you think should come out right now?
I mean, I think they're really on it right now with Facebook Horizon. You know, I'm really interested to see what kind of experience that they're going to create. You know, really, what I've been spending a lot of time in is Rec Room. You know,
Rec Room.
Yeah, Rec Room was definitely pretty fun. They have some cool games that they've created. I think Facebook Horizon is just going to be like, you know, the Facebook version of Rec Room. And they're going to take it to the next level and have a lot different experiences that you can create and experience, you know? I think the creation aspect of it is cool too. So you can actually create your own kind of experience where you and your friends can come and play a game that you created, you know? And yeah, I think Facebook's really making all the right moves right now as far as VR goes, especially AR. It's going to be really interesting to see how that how they match up against Apple when their glasses come out as well. I think that's going to be a pretty big rivalry because Facebook,
it's going to be huge
from the hardware side and the software side. So they're looking to dominate that industry, and that's going to be huge for their, you know, for them long term.
Yeah, and I mean they're also probably going to focus on content too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because and that's what they're building on the software side. And you know, I think Apple is probably going to try to come with the same strategy: end-to-end integration, software, content, device, because that's just always their strategy. And then it's interesting. I agree. Do you think there's going to be a third player?
I mean, Microsoft is going to enter the ball game right now.
You think from a consumer standpoint?
Yeah, they will. They will
eventually.
They're working on, you know, the HoloLens 2, which is a great device for enterprise, right? It's pretty big, so you're not going to want to just walk around with it. I feel like by 2028, there's going to be two different AR devices, like a pair of glasses, which is like a mobile phone. Then you're going to have the headset, which would be like a desktop or a laptop, right? And you're going to use both of them for different use cases. But as the technology gets smaller and smaller, I do believe that Microsoft is going to, you know, hop in that market as well and make a pair of augmented reality glasses. There wouldn't really be a reason for them not to, you know, want to consume some of that market share. Yeah, so I really don't know who's going to win that battle between Facebook and Apple. You know, Facebook's really putting themselves in the position right now to dominate that market. And if I was Apple, I would kind of, you know, I'll be somewhat worried. They have a lot of different industries that they're focused on as well, like healthcare. So they'll be fine, but it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, no, I agree. So you think from a high level, the three biggest players are going to be Apple, Facebook, and Microsoft from a consumer standpoint, long term, right? Because Microsoft isn't there right now, but from an enterprise standpoint, it's, you know, because Facebook is also building AR and VR experiences for enterprise too. They're also working, you know, to tie back to their workplace platform. So from an enterprise standpoint, you know, it's a little bit more, it's almost even a little bit more competitive because there's Magic Leap. I don't know. I don't think Apple is going to go into enterprise. They never really do. They're more so very consumer oriented. But like, is there other kind of competition you see on that end, from that perspective?
From enterprise?
Yeah, from an enterprise standpoint.
There's a couple other companies that have devices out right now, but you know, they're a lot smaller players. I do believe long term that, you know, Microsoft is probably going to dominate that area for sure. And like you said, Facebook, man, they're just applying the most resources to it right now. Like they're hiring so many XR professionals. Like if you look at their, you know, job postings, they're hiring at a rapid rate. No other company is really doubling down on XR as much as Facebook is. So I believe that long term, they're putting themselves in a very good position.
Yeah. True. It's true. It's very, very true. And I mean, it's, you know, and I think too, from a competition standpoint, a business standpoint, it's really also who's going to create the best experience for people too.
Yeah, exactly.
And drive that to market.
That's what it's about. You know, the experience has to be one that people want to buy. You know, I don't think that a heads-up display is really just going to be something that gets consumer adoption. And when I say heads-up display, I mean, you know, like a pair of glasses where you can just overlay the digital content right in front of you. All you can see are like notifications and, you know, really just simple things. You know, I think people want a more of a robust experience. You know, they want to place digital objects in their current environment, you know. So I think they have to really, you know, bring enough value for people to say, hey, I want to actually wear these. And then they also have to work around prescriptions as well, because a lot of people already wear glasses, so they're gonna have to make them prescription, you know. So there's a lot of different things that have to happen. There's another UTFOWLive. You've heard of them, right?
I've heard of Focal.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, yeah. They're
Is it the company called North?
yes, North, yeah, that's what it's
North,
Focal.
yeah.
They already
Yeah,
have
they're
it on the
interesting.
market now. And they're the heads-up display. You know, they're pretty cool. I haven't got to use them yet, but I've seen all the different reviews and seen what people say about them. I'm really interested to see, you know, where they go long term, trying to compete in this market, because it's going to be pretty competitive. All the big companies have their eyes set on this one, you know.
Yeah. And I don't think AR, VR, XR. I don't know if it's going to be a winners take all market. I think it's going to be an abundant market. You're going to see a lot of interesting companies and platforms that come alive in that market long term, which I'm really excited for. So I want to dive deep a little bit more on you, Michael, man. What does the day to day of a CEO of an XR company look like, bro?
Oh man, it's constantly changing. It really just depends on what phase we're in. You know, when we're in the development phase, I'm technical, right? So I'm heavily the engineer. I'm really in the weeds. I'm actually, writing the code. When we're designing, I'm designing. I think the biggest challenge is really to balance working on the business and working in the business. I always like to just set aside some time to actually think about, are we actually, meeting the goals that we have long term versus, are we just executing this current project that we have right in front of us? So, overall, I mean, it really varies just depending on, what phase of a project we are, or if we have a current project that we are working on.
That's powerful, man. What's your favorite part of leading and building the business, man? Are you more kind of passionate about the engineering part, or the sales and building the business part, man?
I mean, really just bringing people experiences that they've never seen before. That's what really makes me excited. We did a collaboration a month ago with Palmer Studios, and that was an amazing collaboration. I got to work with a good friend, Ibichi. He has a clothing brand, and we created an e-commerce shopping experience, an e-commerce shopping experience for people to view his products inside, like their living room or wherever they were. And, the feedback we got was a lot of people didn't even know their phone was even capable of doing that. That was their first experience with that kind of AR. So for me and our company to be the ones that are bringing those experiences to them, that's what really, gets me excited, and those are the kind of experiences we want to continue to create. We want to continue to push the boundaries of what people think are possible.
So what are some of the few projects you're working on now? What's going to be the next big thing, man? And by the way, I want to show love to Ricardo before we dive deep on that question. Ricardo Smith is a software developer at Infosys. Shout out to Ricardo and shout out to Infosys. From what I can see, AR is doing some pretty amazing stuff. However, as VR is concerned, I think to be fully immersed, the hardware needs to be there to not only immerse the mind with visuals, but to immerse the body experience as well. What do you think that hardware to immerse the body could look like?
Okay, perfect. I went to CES 2020 a couple months ago, right? And I saw a company called Haptics. They're working on like a pair of gloves where you could actually go inside, or when you're inside VR, you have touch. When you grab an object, you can actually feel, like you're actually grabbing this object. They have a cool one where you have like a fly swatter, right? And you're like slapping the fly swatter, and you have that feeling of the fly swatter actually bending in your hand, So they're working on that right now. There's another company, I believe it was Tesla Suit. They work on more full body. So it's a suit that you put on, and it has all these different, I don't really know exactly what it is, but it sends like electrical pulses through your body. So you can simulate like, all right, if you get punched, you kind of feel something in your stomach or, in your hands or wherever you get touched. So I definitely do agree that, when you're fully immersed, that's one thing, but to tie in you actually feeling something, that's definitely taking it to the next level. There's even companies working on creating smells, like you put on, you can actually smell certain things. Like if you're in the woods, you'd smell that piney smell. If you're in the ocean, the salt water. So I definitely do
engaging all the senses.
Yeah, all the senses.
That's wild. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. That's and I think I think there's going to be some time until we get there and that gets widely adopted. But I've even seen companies to your point, Michael, that are creating. You can have a ring, or you can have like certain pads that you apply in your hands, so you can in the virtual world have a sense of your the hand body connection.
Mhm.
And I don't know if Apple is going to be shipping suits to people in the future, but you never know. You never know
Yeah.
what people are willing to adopt, and I think that's like why it's so exciting, because we're in this very gray area with AR and VR right now, where people are trying anything, and then what gets widely adopted is what's going to stick, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So I want to show love to Monale, who is saying, I like the differentiation between working on the business versus working in the business. Got me thinking about how I can apply that in my 9 to 5 situation. Thank you so much, Monale, for tuning in. I want to show love to William as well, who is mentioning AR can definitely have a very significant place in the future of education and supporting teachers in the classroom. 120%. What do you think about that, Michael?
That's definitely a huge area that people are working on right now. Like we were talking about earlier, you're allowed to really create more engaging experiences versus reading a textbook or watching a video. You're actually able to be fully immersed if it's VR, and you're actually able to see things in 3D if it's AR. I do think that's definitely going to be something that's going to be prevalent in the future. I wish that we had that while we were growing up, but
Yeah, me too, man. Me too.
Yeah,
Times are changing, but times are changing, but we're building the future though, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So Ricardo is replying back to you. Great stuff, man. He's definitely going to check out some of the companies that you mentioned. So with that said, Michael, back to my question that I asked you, man. When you think about right now, how can someone get into the experience reality VR space? What are the skills, or how do you encourage them to kind of follow the same path that you're on, man?
Yeah, so I think it really comes with self-awareness first. You have to know what, skills you currently have and what it is that you're interested in. All right. So to create an augmented reality experience, there's a lot of different things that have to happen. First off, are you more design focused? Are you going to be more on the UX side of things, on deciding how, things should be placed and how people are going to actually interact with this experience? Or are you going to be heavy as far as on the design side of it, where you'd actually be creating the 3D models? That's a whole task within itself, right? It takes a lot of work to create to create these 3D models. Or you're going to be more on the, engineering side of things, where you'd be just working more on computer vision and, things of that sort. So I think deciding what area of the development process you want to hop into, I always recommend Spark AR, which is a tool that Facebook created. You can create different Instagram effects and Facebook effects. I think that's a great starting point for sure. It's a really robust tool because you don't have to be very heavy on the design side or on the coding side. You're able to create an experience where you can actually have some kind of interaction without coding. They use different little patches, like coding blocks, I like to explain, like logic blocks, essentially. Have some kind of functionality without knowing how to code. So I think that's pretty cool, and I would always recommend Spark AR for sure.
Yeah, that's huge. And I love how a lot of companies are simplifying it for people who are beginners and may not know a lot about the space. Facebook is simplifying it. Microsoft is simplifying it. It's what's so exciting for me, man. You and I both, as technologists, it's just how it's so easy now to build anything, whether it be a machine learning model, a product, or AR experience. I love how technology has come to a point where the infrastructure is there, the cloud providers are there. All you need to do is be curious. Like, if you're interested, go build it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. All the resources are definitely there. Well, I will say with augmented reality and virtual reality, you're not going to find as much. You're going to have to really tinker a lot because it's very new. So a lot of things that you're doing might not have been done before. So you really have to have that grit and really passion for it to create these cool experiences,
Yeah, you really have to dig deep for the information.
Yeah. Back when I was doing web development, it was so easy because you just go online, you just Google something, and people have done it thousands of times. You're not really doing anything that new, when you're developing a simple website. But these kind of experiences, you have to really look. But I think really getting a community, that's when you get a lot of value and save a lot of time. Because it can take you 2 weeks just to figure out a problem. It's like, what's going on? But if you're in community with people that are doing the same things, they've most likely, made certain mistakes. They've gone through certain things. And when you connect with them, they're able to, help you out. So you can decrease the amount of time it takes for you to, accomplish that task.
Yeah. I love that. Doing things in community. I think that's, and the thing about VR, AR right now is that community is bustling. There's so many people interested. sharing information, learning from each other. So that's huge. Really quick, I want to do a fire round with you.
Fire round,
A quick fire round. Who is your favorite VR or AR developer?
This guy Matthew. He's on YouTube. I'm not really sure what his last name is, but
wait, does he work at Google?
I don't know if that's him or not. I really don't know.
No. You know who I'm talking about. There's this guy that works at Google. He's like really big on AR and spatial reality.
Another one, I guess, Don Allen. You can follow him.
Don Allen.
Yeah, he's great. He creates great content. He works at DreamWorks, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, that's lit. Let's see. Okay, which area of AR are you most excited about in the future?
In the future, I would say e-commerce.
E-commerce.
Yeah, e-commerce.
That's gonna be mind blowing. Why?
Just because right now the shopping experience if you're not in the store, is pretty static. You're just viewing something, whether that be a video or that's a picture. But when you're actually able to see the product inside your environment, it's a complete game changer.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. What is the hardest part of building an augmented reality experience?
The hardest part of building an augmented reality experience would be, for me personally, creating 3D models. That's not really, of course you can, but I would say, if you're doing the whole process, creating 3D models is very tough for me.
Yeah, the end-to-end process, man. I love it. By the way, Michael, man, when is that? Oh, hold on. We have a question from the amazing Tulani. Shout out to Tulani. Thank you so much, Tulani, for tuning in. Do you think VR can be used in future to tap into people's conscious state that are in a coma as a method to getting them out of such a state? What do you think, Michael? That's a powerful question.
Wow. I think that's definitely possible, like in the 2030s. I think that's stuff like that for sure. Nothing's impossible.
Nothing's
impossible. I think once VR and AR, it's like, okay, this isn't new anymore. What's next?
What's next?
Like in Black Mirror, how they had the little chip and you're able to scan your brainwaves and they can simulate an environment based off of that, where you don't actually have to see anything. They just send electrical impulses in to make you think that you're seeing something. I think that is a very slippery slope, but I definitely think people are going to start to tweak around with that kind of stuff in the 2030s.
One of my favorite quotes that I recently heard and read was, human beings were the only types of mammals, right, that we can change our environments to fit our circumstance, right? We can adapt our environments. Every other type of being actually adapts to their environment. And with that said, I think it goes to your point. Nothing is impossible. We can build whatever we want to augment ourselves. So, who knows? Maybe it'll be here before we after us, but it's possible. It's possible. That was a great question, Tulani. Thank you so much for tuning in. And with that said, Michael, where can the people find out more about your work, man, and all the amazing things that you're building?
Oh yeah, you can definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on here. And also on Instagram, you can follow me at Michael from Go. I'll post a lot of content on there as well. And you can also go to our website, GoXR.tech.
Sweet. GoXR.tech. And I'll make sure I share that in the comments. And Michael will probably engage with some of your questions if you have any later on. Michael, thank you so much for being on the show today, man. I really appreciate you, brother.
Perfect. Thank you for having me, man.
All right, man. Talk to you soon, brother.
All right. Peace.
All right. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. We have another guest coming up on a special B2B episode of Unleashing the Future of Work, a live online podcast. And by the way, if you're interested in being an early access tester, beta tester for Guide App, check out guideapp.co. Check out our website. We are looking for early beta testers to test the app for us. The future is now. With that said, I am excited about our next guest. He's pretty awesome. And, before I introduce him and I announce him and bring him on, I would ask you, when was the last time you watched something live? When was the last time you watched something live? Your answer is probably the other day, right? Because there's so much live content out right now. Every platform from TikTok to LinkedIn to Instagram to Facebook, everyone is trying to experiment with live, the future of live. Well, the guy that I'm talking to next, this guy, he's been in this space. And more importantly, he's leading this space in one of the top tech companies in the world. I'm excited in a few minutes to bring on Tarun Gangwani, who is an award-winning product and design professional whose work has been used by millions, not thousands, not hundreds, millions of people around the world. With his background in cognitive science and design, Tarun has delivered user-centered solutions for startups and enterprise companies within a wide variety of industries that leverage cloud technologies to deliver innovative experiences. Tarun's perspectives and work have been featured in major news publications, including the New York Times, CIO.com, Tech.co, and you name it, every other platform or Twitch, right? That you can think of. As a product manager at Twitch, he helps developers build sustainable businesses on its live streaming platform. His team creates tools and resources that help people to build live apps on Twitch, enabling multiplayer entertainment between creators and viewers. And if you want to learn more about his work, just check out dev.twitch.tv. Without further ado, let me bring Mr. Tarun Gangwani on. And it might take some time, so feel free to add some stuff in the comments and let me know your thoughts. And check out his profile as we bring him on. Tarun. Shout out to you all who are viewing and tuning in. How's your day going? Are you having fun today? Are you enjoying the day? How was your Memorial Day? Shout out to King Aaron, who's tuning in live on Periscope. Thank you so much, Aaron, for tuning in. She's saying dope. Man, I love the future of live media. The fact that you can stream to multiple channels at once, that is just mind-blowing to me. I'm always mind blown every time I go live. The fact that you could be in multiple places at once. I don't know if anyone has written about this, but if you have and you have a blog post, please share with me. With that said, I think our guest of the moment is live and on. I am about to bring him on. I've already introduced him for you all. This guy is amazing. He's pretty awesome. Good friend. We've been connected on LinkedIn for years now, I believe. And more importantly, I'm excited about what we're going to talk about. Tarun, what's up, man?
Yo, what up, man? Good, baby.
Dude, I love your energy, man. How are you doing, bro?
I'm as bright as the cloudy skies of Seattle.
How was your Memorial Day, man? What did you do for fun?
Man, I don't. Did we have a Memorial Day? Was there even a long weekend? Like, I don't even know. I woke up and I was like, oh, I'm not in front of a camera talking with my mouth. Oh, this is weird. And then I woke up today. I'm like, all right, we're back to normal. Oh, that's what a long weekend feels like now. I forgot about that. No, we grilled some stuff. We had some viewers. Weekends. So yeah, it was awesome. How about you?
Dude, I chilled, man. I stayed in. I had some fun. I worked on some stuff. I didn't even realize it was Memorial Day until I was like, wait, things are a little bit quieter than usual around the neighborhood. Oh, it's Memorial Day.
Yeah. Well,
right?
Quieter except the occasional cookout with like a gaggle of people, and you hope that they're all family members or something like that. But that's not
Yeah. It's true. So, by the way, Tarun, man, I want you to share a little bit more about kind of how long you've been working in product management and doing the work that you do, man.
Well, I always wanted to be a product manager. It's funny. A lot of people. Well, to be clear, I wanted to do product management. I had no idea what product management was until I got there, and then I was like, oh, yeah, this is what I want to do. Because when I started my career, first I was doing research in cognitive science and kind of understanding how people think, and I was like, this is interesting. But at the end of the day, it amounted to like really great dinner, lunch conversations with some friends, and I wasn't outputting anything into the private sector or things that I could see grow. And so that was my first inkling of maybe I need to do something more in technology. And so I got a design degree and moved that route and started my design career. at IBM. And while I was doing design, I was asking myself, well, how do I be the person that also coordinates why things are made and how things are made in addition to what it is, right? And I think that
Mm.
it's kind of the triumvirate you think about with design is like business, the technical and constraints, and the design and how it works for the user, which dovetails really nicely to, again, like kind of my CogSci background, which is studying how people think. Now I like to say that I studied how people think and tried to create experiences given that construct, that constraint that I learned back then. So I moved into product at IBM, and I've stayed with product for the past 5 years or so. And during that time, have been in enterprise, startups, and now in high growth and everything in between. So that's been my journey so far with product management. But I think the reason why I gave that little biography is because I felt like I was doing product work throughout that anyway, in one shape or
Mm.
another. It's just when you give yourself and you're able to grant yourself, or someone bestows upon you the title, thus now you are a product manager. I think it's been 5 years. But the reality is, I think everybody does a semblance of product management, especially if you're a designer, which I could talk for hours about, like how I think UX is more product management than they want to be.
Mm.
But today, product management at Twitch, running developer products. So.
And I think what's so powerful about your story, man, is that it's really dynamic, right? Because you're a product manager that's also been a designer, and you've worked across multiple different industries and disciplines. And I think oftentimes when people hear the word product manager, they think that you have to have a business degree, or you have to have a business major, or more importantly, that's just some business person, right? But like, you have this very layered and unique perspective that you bring to the table.
Right. I think having the background of being in high growth now and startup and scrappy startup where product really means do everything except hands on keys code. And maybe in some startups you're also doing that. And then at large enterprise where you're put in a box and you have these KPIs and you have to drive towards that. And then when something ships, you really don't know who to give kudos for and thanks when it takes hundreds of people to ship something at that scale. So I've seen all lenses of product to this point, and I think it has really informed and shaped my thinking of not only from a process perspective, but how I think about the discipline itself.
Mm. I feel as if one of the things that we often don't realize is that, like, there's this in between the creative process and building a product, and also having a very like clear process in place, right? And what I like to call it is structured chaos, because the product development process is pretty crazy. But if you have some structure to it, you'll have success, and you can be creative within the process, right? And I love what you just mentioned is that you've seen things of like, okay, KPI centric, we have to like hit these milestones, ship. But you've also worked the starters with more so a creative flavor. So you have that in between. I would love for you to share a little bit about, what are your tips for leading a product team, right? How do you balance and create that harmony between focusing on core metrics, but also at the same time creating a culture of creativity, man?
Well, you always want to work backwards, right, from the customer and the user needs that are, the forefront for the reason why you're building in the first place, right? And so I think if you always start there, you're able to find creative expression or business goals that can be met and can be harmonized between them. So that would be the first tip I would say is if you're stuck, remember the pains and the reason why you're doing things in the first place is because there is a literal person who is going to use this software every day for the lifeblood of their job or as a hobby or a passion, whatever that is. You know that there is a person there and you are making things for that person or group of people, right? So for me, it is working for game developers and game publishers who are building these awesome, creative experiences of expression, which are the video games that people play, and then figuring out ways to help them use Twitch as an amplification to grow their community, and their communities being the viewers and streamers on our platform. So we actually have an interesting like three-sided marketplace that I operate in between, but there are three people with three perspectives. So now, once you understand those people, you have KPIs that can drive those three people, but the nuance is when you bridge the gaps between those three pieces of that triangle, that's where creative expression and creative utility really comes to the forefront. It's like, how do you move those numbers is where you start to really understand, oh, well, I can move this in some meaningful way if I, make docs more obvious for these developers, or I can move it in a different way if I make it so that marketers can also come and build experiences. So we've looked at this at every different side, and like KPIs are good like goalposts, but really it's about solving a problem, which can sometimes be intangible. It's not necessarily something that can be quantified. It's also qualitative. Were they able to go home a little earlier? Were they able to ship a better piece of software? Were they able to produce a better game?
Yeah, yeah. By the way, Tarun, we're having a little bit of trouble hearing you, my friend. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, yeah. It's the audio. It's a little bit wonky. It's a little bit unclear.
Is this better if my mic is a little closer? Or
it's a little bit better, but it sounds like as if there's something in the background too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird, but it's okay.
Hear? What do you hear?
It's like a trash can. It's weird.
You know, I know what it is. I'm gonna reveal it to everybody. I'm next to a furnace. It's right in there.
It's a furnace.
So
it's
I'll just.
You're keeping yourself warm while we're live, aren't you?
You know, we gotta stay warm. Let's see if that works. Meanwhile, I'll mute while you're talking. You go ahead.
Sweet. I think that's much better. That's much better. Okay, I think that's solid. That's solid. So as you were saying, you're talking about, you know, the really the creative expression happens when you connect the dots between the people who are really, you know, whether it be product, engineering, design, who are really at the intersection of creating the product. You know, I want you to dive deep a little bit more into, you know, what makes Twitch so amazing, right? I love Twitch. I love the culture and the community that you all have built, you know, and you're repping the Twitch hat. You know, do you think it's the community, you know, that you all have built, or is this, you know, or is it this kind of movement that you all have created around live streaming and engaging and really gaming?
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Like I haven't obviously been with the company as long as many of my colleagues have, but you know, it's the right place and right time for Twitch today, where you've got this hype of, you know, gaming and video gaming because people have that, you know, expendable time because of this, you know, unpredictable thing that's occurred in everybody's lives right now. And then, yeah, you've got a sense of wanting some community and belonging and some way to express and make connections, regardless of what's happening in the current place. So we've shared publicly, you know, our numbers have doubled since, you know, because of this pandemic. But what's more interesting is the connections that are being formed and the relationships that people are making between each other and the communities that are being built. And so live streaming is prevalent now more than ever, and I would say, and many people in the industry, not just us, would agree that it's going to remain prevalent. It's because of this low barrier to entry now with all these technologies that exist to be able to just come online. I mean, you were running a show on LinkedIn with a camera and a microphone, and me, I'm sitting over here in a different state, and we're able to talk to each other in an instant, right? And that wasn't possible before, but now it's ubiquitous. So I think because of ubiquity, this technology has unlocked now more interesting questions. So like, what do we do with this medium? Like, what do we do with these technologies? And one is creative expression for either playing games, or now we're seeing people on Twitch play music, or they have podcasts, or I saw somebody's hosting a Bachelor like thing on Twitch. Another friend of mine, his name's Brian. He's hosting something called Twitch Pitch, which is like Shark Tank on Twitch. And so we're seeing like all these born again, like, you know, TV media kind of relationships happening in live streaming, which means new ways to think about those same mediums. And so it's never been more an exciting time to be in this space.
You know what's so powerful too is that everyone now has an opportunity to be their own media agency or their own media empire.
Well,
I think that's wild.
That's been the case, you know, thankfully with live streaming is definitely part of it, but I would argue that has been the case for the past like 5 to 10 years, where people have been able to express themselves directly to people, right? Like media, the purpose of media is to say something to a lot of people at scale efficiently, right? And allow those subscribers to listen to you. So to an extent, yes, I agree. Like live streaming has lowered the barrier to create many of those mini communities megaphonics and many of the mini megaphones. Like we've seen Twitter do this and stuff too. So that's really the power of it. But I think the difference with live streaming is that you have so much more control over the medium than you have had. Like, in other words, platforms have existed for you to share 140 characters or put up a post or throw up a video and then wait for it to buffer and load, and then by then the story is passed or what have you. Now, I can instantly tell you a story right here in front of hundreds of people, or I don't know how many people are listening, but I can do that very quickly, and that has changed how we communicate, why we communicate things, and the purpose of it, in ways that we haven't seen before.
I love that. I love that. That's such a powerful summary. And I think, it's going to take some adjusting to, right? I've been doing live content. I've been creating content for a while personally, but I don't think the world is actually ready for this rapid increase in live engagement. I think, platforms like a TikTok, right? TikTok is booming right now because at a consumer standpoint, everyone wants to be connected, right? Social, let's do it. But there's this lack of quality on a platform like that. And I think to your point, as this, barrier to entry to using these tools decreases, there's gonna have to be a focus on quality content, and curated content as well. And, that's one of the things that us at Guide, we've really been like honed in on in terms of from a product and marketing standpoint. I want to ask you, Tarun, because, that you understand the importance of community as well as really being able to rally a community around something that you're building. Who are some of your favorite Twitch creators or live stream creators who do this really, really well on Twitch, man?
Oh, that's such a good question. I get asked it all the time, and I try to find new people to plug every time I do this because it's ever evolving. And so I'll give you a few vertical examples, right? So first of all, in the gaming vertical, right, like the audience of people that is the most prevalent on Twitch, I look at people like Trihex. I look at folks like Barbarous King. I watch, of course, there's TQ, Tim the Tatman, Pokimane. Like these larger streamers, they're successful because they've been doing it for a while. Keep in mind, people they don't just have 20,000 views out of nowhere. They've been probably on Twitch for a while, like maybe 3 to 5 years or something. Been growing this community slowly but surely, and they've been doing it because they've been making Twitch a regular habit. So they've been streaming like every day on a schedule consistently. They started with a niche they were good at. So they started with like one game and one like speciality, and then they started slowly expand as their community expanded. Listen to their community and adapt and evolve, right? So Hex is a good example of somebody who, early days of Twitch, was streaming speed runs of like Super Mario Yoshi's Island. Was just very good at that, and then started to expand to other types of speedrun. Speedrunning, by the way, is like watching someone play a game really fast and use maybe glitch exploits or something like that to like maximize the potential of playing. It's a super fun genre, super neat. It gets into the binaries of the way games work. It's fascinating. But anyway, so they start there, and then they start to expand as the community expands. Now they have to ask other questions of what do their community needs. So they're also doing like product management. They're also understanding like what are their needs for their community and responding to it in a way that makes sense because they're trying to put on an entertaining show, right? I would say that transcends across vertical. But the difference is with music now becoming more and more prevalent on the platform, we're seeing this other creative expression also take hold. And it's still the same playbook, but the nuance I think is that it's approachable to a wider set, right? So there's a different set of people who enjoy music and want to have it in the background, right? Versus like gaming is like a multi-sensory modal experience. You have to watch someone play a thing and see how they go through strategy. Versus music is like it can be single modal. I can have it in the background and on my ears are playing whatever 8-bit music is one really fun streamer. They play like a bunch of tracks from like video games. It's called 8-bit music. And there's a few others like guitarists and marimba players and all sorts of stuff that are expressing themselves now with that medium. And the advantage to them is they can just. Oh, that's another interesting thing, by the way, is because live streaming is like one way to produce content, and then it gets remixed or reusable, right? Like you probably do this content for YouTube. That's the advantage of getting good at live streaming is because then you can build communities, understand what works, and then use YouTube or other what we call VOD or streaming video on demand kind of platforms to expand your audience and say, hey, here's all this stuff I talk about or play music or play games every day. Come check it out when it's live and come for the moment, but share in the community in other ways, which I think has been also interesting exercise to see these very great community builders.
Yeah, no, it's really powerful, and I think it's interesting too because I wasn't really involved in live streaming until a platform that I was native to and I was engaged on, started leveraging it, right? Being LinkedIn, and I think as more platforms go live, I think in the future, and live being, I think live is now the modicum of engagement from a social standpoint, right? Facebook is always investing in live, but now they're reinvesting it because they saw Zoom's engagement. What do you think are some things that platforms and leaders need to be wary of, right, as they're building these new live technologies, from a trade-off perspective?
Well, the thing is, if you're going to enter the live streaming market today, you better have a really strong community or some set of people that you can build around, right? And so Facebook can do it because they have a great product called the feed, and B, a really strong sense of users, right, that are coming every day. And so this is a new content to push to the eyeballs and earballs of whatever people are watching, right? Discord can do this too, and the other technologies that have users that are using the service as a regular habit can pivot into live, right? And then we're starting to see new platforms like Clubhouse is becoming really popular. Clubhouse being the app that allows like 10 people to jump on an audio-only live stream kind of session, and then other people can sit as the audience, and then they can jump in and out. And so there are these small world like live streaming platforms. Exist. Caffeine and some of these others, they're all doing it because they are either the platform is centering around a niche. So Caffeine is really leaning in on music and having big rappers and like big hip hop artists come and play a session, and then they're coming on. And Twitter is leaning in on live events, and so they're leaning in on a niche and they're exploiting their community. And so I think if you're going to enter this as a new entrant, which in and of itself, I don't know if there's room. I mean, there's always room. We never know. But like Clubhouse came out of nowhere, and it could be the next big thing. But like generally speaking, you have to have those two things in life.
So leaning in on a niche and really having a strong community.
It turns out that's the same playbook for an individual community person on the platform itself, right? Like on Twitch, you better have a niche, and you better have some startup. And you'll grow. And so the platforms respond to the people, and the people respond to the platforms in a very symbiotic way. LinkedIn, LinkedIn has, we're writing this blog, and only work-based dialogue really works, right? Like if I were to start playing a Super Mario Maker on LinkedIn, I don't really know what kind of traction I get, right? Because the medium is not really tuned well for live streaming gaming content, A, and then B, the people are not interested. They would be like, have you seen on LinkedIn the people who post like Facebook-like posts, and some of the comments are like, why are you posting this here? Like, I'm not your family, and I'm not your here. Like that level of like dissonance and hatred for that would extend to the video naturally, right? So.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that. Spoken like someone with true product sense, man. I think you have a great point. It's actually a point I haven't even thought about. Is that really the medium? It's very focused on the type of engagement, whether it be a LinkedIn, TikTok. There's a certain type of engagement that the medium is looking for, and people are looking for in a symbiotic way. When it comes to engaging with live content or any type of content, which is a great point, man. So I want to dive deep a little bit more on a few things, right? Because there's a lot going on in the world right now, and my big topic area, the future of work, and looking at it from all kinds of different perspectives. How do you think COVID-19 has fast tracked the future of work, man?
Yeah, I think fast tracked is the key word, right? Because I don't think we will see. I think we will see new ways of working for sure. But what we are going to see is optimizations on the things that should have been working before, right? Like we're seeing Zoom scale to unprecedented levels. We're seeing live streaming scale to unprecedented levels. We're seeing Twitter and all these mediums we've been using just double time, triple time their ability to move forward. And so I think the challenge for these companies is going to be innovating in a space where most of your capacity is dedicated to keeping the thing on, right? And so
Mm.
understanding like how to do both this bimodal opportunity that's presenting itself, I think is going to be a fun challenge for any platform to figure out and any product team to figure out. But that being said, in terms of the day-to-day, if anything, it's just going to reshift the things we build as a society towards optimizing for this behavior. But
Mm.
I suspect that a lot of these things have existed. It's just they haven't been tuned for this use case in a way that they should have, right? What's a good example of that? Like we could jam on this for a little bit. Like for
I think
example,
live streaming technology is a good example. Live
yeah,
streaming technology has been around for years.
yeah, that's obvious, right? Like I think more not well. So okay, let's take live streaming as a medium, but let's apply something that wasn't expected. Like for example, there's this company that I've been hearing about. A colleague of mine, and he has his own podcast called My First Million. His name is Sean. So Sean was talking about a company called Nana. Have you heard of Nana?
No, I haven't.
So Nana is on-demand plumbers or skilled laborers who will teach you how to build a something over live video. So for example,
Wow.
if I don't know how to fix my washing machine, I can go to Nana and I can ask for an hour consulting session with a washing machine person. They can teach me how to fix it, and I can subscribe to that person and continue to watch them over and over and see how to do it so I can help myself be a better, house person and handle this when I'm at home all the time, right? And so this is an example of a vertical entering a platform that hadn't before. And I think that is probably more likely to happen. So the question is, will the platforms respond to that, or will new products stand up to support that? Like Nana's a new product, right? But it could just as easily be the case that Facebook could create a group project called Home Improvements Inc. and optimize for live streaming there and move their business in that direction if they wanted. And so I think what we're going to find is a little bit of both happening, where the platforms will start to invest in niches that are starting to explode and become more prevalent during this time. And the verticals are going to say, how do I take advantage of these platforms to create new industries and new opportunities that we could
And the vertical, when you say verticals, you're talking about the creators in these verticals.
Yeah. Like creators are just generally like a vertical, meaning like finance, fintech, or skilled labor, or um, you know, I don't know, app development, or anything like any or gardening, like any sort of like discipline. How they take advantage of the platform, I think, is the way.
Yeah. And I think, for us, that would be education, right?
Right,
In terms
right,
of,
right.
and being the vertical that we're seeing an opportunity in. That's powerful. That's actually a really powerful concept. And when you do you believe that, there are a few societal issues that we should all be focused on right now in terms of paying attention to? And, which one would you recommend that we should be, as people who are passionate about building, but focused on solving? So 2 to 3 that kind of come to mind for you, man.
Lowering the barrier to entry for anyone to be able to use these technologies is key for us for this society to move forward. Like for now, we are understanding that certain disciplines will win out in this framework, right? Like we as tech are privileged in that we can have full-time jobs even though this pandemic is happening. But what's an interesting problem for us to all think about, and which is why I love Twitch, is how do you extend that platform capability to the underserved, for people who have a voice, who have a talent, and can start a new business in this platform. And so I think every platform should be thinking about, how do I use my skills and technologies for lowering the barrier to entry and democratizing, so anyone can have an opportunity to build a business or build a relationship with other people or build a community and sustain themselves, right? Like that would be the opportunity for being trusted. And then from there, there's optimizations to be had, where how can I specifically do that for plumbers or for electricians or for gardeners or for all these other skilled labor workforces that are out of labor, or retail, right? Like there's so many people who were in the store guiding customers, and now they aren't, and they don't have a job. So what do they do? You know what I mean? Like, where do they go? They still want to be part of the retail experience. So can we lose some of those people and put them in front of live chat? Or can we figure out better virtual shopping experiences? So I think that's where we need to be thinking
about. That's powerful, man. I think you're one of the proponents of democratization, democratizing the technology. And I think I have a strong affinity to that too, man, because I think for some reason I feel as if, you know, I don't, to a degree, technology is still a barrier to entry for many people, right? One of my good friends, my kids, one of the things that he says, right now he's really focused on bridging the digital divide because there are millions of kids who are in Title I low-income communities who do not have access to the internet, right? So if you're building and this is in the U.S., not in, a developing country, right? And I think, it's for you and I, it's like, wait, what? I would think everyone has access to the internet because we're building on the internet every single day and we're streaming on the internet. But that's still very hard for, a mother with 3 kids who has to pay child support and has to balance all of these different things. And I think, I think we're going through a time of empathy right now and realize, oh, wow, there's still more to be done, right? Like, we haven't solved all of our problems yet with just technology alone. But now we have to start thinking about a lot more about the humanity of it. Like, what are we building and who is it reaching? And how extensible is that reach from a platform standpoint?
Right. And furthermore, to your point, like, the internet for some people is Facebook. And
Yeah.
the internet is, a Google search. So what you're also seeing in these platforms is forward vertically integrating into creating hardware, right? With the way of reducing the barrier to entry to the idea of the platform at all, like the Facebook portal, right? Facebook portal was previously seen as this creepy thing that sits in your house, and you're like, why would I want this thing watching everything I do? But now they're spending so much cash and investment because they found the opportunity to exploit the idea that we're all at home and we need to lower the barrier to entry for our grandmothers and family members to connect. And so, and I think that's great, actually. I think that is the right use case for that tech. And what we'll see, therefore, is another expansion of that technology to things like Airbnb, right? Like, you're seeing Airbnb pivot to at-home experiences now, and they're finding ways for their host community to host experiences irregardless of the pandemic situation. And you can see an opportunity where these companies will probably work together and say, hey, if you're a host on Airbnb, you can get a free portal and you can host all your stuff with that, right? And I think, to your point, these low income, like these communities that don't have the ability to have all this technology, like, it would be very hard. And you think about this, Twitch thinks about this, like, what are ways to reduce the barrier to anybody streaming and starting to tell a conversation? So, we're looking at that all the time, and I think that's what everybody's going to be looking at is, I have this technology. What stops me from unlocking the next billion people? Like if you're at that platform scale, right? Now, if I'm a person who's starting a business, you're going to think about it from a different scale, which is, who's the audience that I'm most familiar with, and what technologies am I most familiar with to create an opportunity, and basically take kindling and fire and spark them together to make something. That's what it's all about, and I think people are starting to become more razor focused on that. And I really, really, I would love to help and inspire or be involved in any conversation where people are building those kind of things. I think that would be awesome. So,
Yeah. I mean, the people that are building those type of things, they're the pioneers, man. They're the next generation, man. I love that. So, quick fire round. I want to do a fire style fire round with you, man, and ask you a few questions, man. Unexpected questions, right? Who is your favorite business leader?
oh gosh. Um, I mean, right now, my favorite business leader is probably Tamar. I don't know if you've heard Tamar, Polyhypatia on.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah, he's pretty good.
He's got an inspiring story and inspiring background. Came from
Wow.
and B, I think he speaks his mind and is very forward about where inequality and where finance needs to move and shape and change, and
Mm.
he's been louder as time has gone on. So I think he's really inspiring someone to listen and think about. The other person that I would say is Chris Sacca, probably a longtime fan of his. Been watching, over the course of his career, at I think lower stage, and now kind of
Lowercase capital, I believe. Yeah.
lowercase, yeah, and now starting to do his own thing in philanthropy and democracy. So I think that's great.
That's lovely. That's lovely. Chris Saka, if you're listening to this, hit us up.
My
Comment.
boy, comment, come on in.
comment on the live. Yeah.
Well, if anything, just thanks to both of those people and everybody. I follow a lot of inspiring people, and so I think in this time, those voices need to be more heard and more understood, and also those that want to underrated. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Super important. What is your favorite product?
my favorite product. So hardware product is my Nintendo Switch.
Your what? Hold on. I can't hear you.
My Nintendo Switch right
Your
now.
Nintendo Switch.
Yeah. So I think it's well designed. I think it is perfect for the moment. I think it has a lot of fun games. So that's definitely from a hardware, software perspective. Well, software could be a little bit inferior than hardware. And then I would say on otherwise, OS is a podcasting that I use pretty often to catch up.
Wait,
Podcasts.
we can catch that. What do you use pretty often?
Overcast.
Overcast. It's a podcast tool.
Yeah, right. So,
Oh, so it helps you create podcasts?
No, it helps you listen to them. It's
helps you listen
by a person named Marco Arment. Marco is um, an enterprising single entrepreneur who's built a lot of interesting things like Instapaper and now built Overcast, and it's just a great way to listen to podcasts.
Wow, we definitely got to add those links in the comments, and I'll definitely be checking those links out as well. If you could build anything other than Twitch today, what would you build?
If I could build anything other than Twitch, I would. I think I've had ideas around building some drop shipping like something, right? Like I find drop shipping plus warehousing capabilities and manufacturing overseas and Amazon a very, very powerful way to build really better businesses. So I would be looking at ways to think about using those things and making something, and obviously first and foremost making something that's for the moment, right? Again, for a niche that would be useful. But I would spend more time thinking about that. I've been hearing more and more about it, and I've been inspired by it. But, take some effort. That's an excuse I tend to say.
I love that. I love that. So shout out to Christopher Davies, who's been tuning in throughout our live. Great shares and inspiration, gentlemen. Very relevant in a time when many need to think. Thank you so much, Christopher, who is an engagement strategist at Ponder, which sounds like a really, really cool and unique company.
Well,
thanks so much.
They dropped the valve, but they added a constant
That's so dope.
H for hi, got you.
Gotcha. Last question, man, Tarun. When you think about your amazing career thus far and all the cool things that you have done or even yet to do, what's been that common thread that has tied it all together for you, man?
I think the constraint of the way people work and the societies that people belong in. Like the bottom line is people are humans and have human constraints and human ways of thinking. So we always I think in design school and whenever you sit and think about a problem space, the difference between where I was and where I am today is that I understand more how people operate in the societies they operate in and how they work in the constraints they operate in. So I think the bottom line is if you can understand people and understand societies and do some ethnography, you're going to build great things. And we've seen that built for developers in cloud services. We've seen that built in here with my startup that is still going, and then now here at Twitch, where we're seeing how communities are built in societies and created. That's still from that's always going to be fun.
Mm. I love it. I love it, man. Thank you so much, Tarun, man. What is your takeaway for our amazing community, our amazing guy community? How can they go and change the world, man, and build something hopefully as big as Twitch someday?
Start with a niche.
Start with a niche.
Start with a niche. Be good at it. Find your community and do it over and over and repeat and listen.
Man, powerful, powerful. And Tarun, where can people connect with you and find your work and all the awesome things that you're doing, bro?
Here on LinkedIn or on Twitter. Follow me.
Sweet, sweet. You heard it here first. Follow Tarun on Twitter, LinkedIn. He's an awesome, awesome guy, man. If you have an idea, he will break it down and give you constructive feedback, especially, man. Tarun, man, thank you so much for joining us on the Unleashing the Future of Work, a guy podcast, live online podcast, man. We're definitely going to have you on a future episode, man.
Hey, I'm always down to chat. Let's do it again.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you, brother. Talk soon, man. And you have just tuned in to a special back-to-back episode, B2B as in back-to-back, not B2B as in software, episode of Unleashing the Future of Work, a live online podcast. Thank you so much, Guy community, for tuning in. More importantly, if you're interested in being a part of our early access beta program, go check out guideapp.co. We're incredibly excited. We're a few weeks, maybe a few months away from our beta launch. And we're excited to have our early access beta testers join us in our launch and giving us some early feedback so we can better improve the product. So check out guideapp.co if you're interested in the future of learning and, more importantly, where learning is going. So thank you so much, Ricardo, Monale, Christopher, Monale, and all the awesome people who have been tuning in and sharing comments and sharing this out to their network. If you love this awesome live episode with my two amazing guests, Michael and Tarun, please share this with your network so they can tune in and learn something new. And more importantly, maybe be a part of our early access guide app program, right? And more importantly, we're only selecting a few people to be early testers. So please check it out on guideapp.co. And if you are a member of the Guide community and you want to be on the Guide podcast in the future, please reach out to me on LinkedIn, or more importantly, reach out to me on UTFOW.com. I'm always reviewing potential guests for future episodes. If you're doing something cool, if you're doing something crazy, and if you're incredibly passionate about where the future of learning is going, and more importantly, where the future of work is going, reach out to me. I would love to have you on the show. And if you have recommendations on people that I should have as a guest for future episodes, please reach out to me once again. I'm always taking recommendations and reaching out to people. With that said, I hope you're enjoying your lovely, lovely Tuesday. Peace, love, and I'm going to be talking to you all tomorrow. All right, y'all. Peace.